began on a rainy Friday evening when Ethan Cole moved into his late grandfather's house on the edge of Willow Creek. The house had been in his family for generations, an old Victorian structure that sat isolated at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by towering pine trees. It was a place he had only visited twice as a child, once for Christmas and once for the funeral of his grandmother. After his grandfather passed away, the property was left to him, along with a cryptic note that read, "Never open the basement door after midnight." Ethan had laughed when he first read it, thinking it was just one of his grandfather's eccentric jokes. The old man had been known for his strange habits, covering mirrors at night, burning sage every Sunday, and keeping the basement padlocked with 3 different locks. Still, the house was beautiful in its decaying way, tall ceilings, carved wooden railings, and rooms filled with antique furniture. It felt like stepping into another century. That first night, Ethan walked through the halls with a flashlight, familiarizing himself with the creaky layout. The house groaned in protest as the storm outside intensified. Wind whistled through cracks in the windows, and the rain lashed against the glass like thrown gravel. He paused at the end of the hallway where the basement door stood, thick oak wood, painted black, with a single brass handle that had tarnished with age. The locks were still there, each one different, each one heavy and cold to the touch. Ethan crouched and examined them. The top lock was new, the middle one rusted, and the last had a faint carving on it, an eye etched into the metal. He wondered what his grandfather had been hiding down there. Maybe an old wine cellar? Or a workshop? The curiosity lingered, but exhaustion eventually won. He decided to explore it the next morning and went upstairs to sleep. At 2:37 a.m., a sound woke him. A deep, hollow thud from somewhere below. He sat up, his heart pounding. Another thud. Then silence. He listened for a full minute before convincing himself it was just the wind or the shifting of the old foundation. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was moving under the floorboards. The next day, Ethan explored the main floor. The kitchen was filled with dusty jars and old canned goods. The living room had portraits of stern ancestors staring down from their frames. In the study, he found a stack of journals belonging to his grandfather. Most of them contained gardening notes and weather observations, but one had a single entry that caught his eye. June 14th. The knocking has started again. I reinforced the locks. The voices say they want light. They lie. Do not believe them. Ethan frowned. Voices? He closed the journal and set it aside. His grandfather must have been losing his mind in his later years. But as the day went on, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about that basement door. He eventually found the keys in an old desk drawer, 3 of them labeled 1, 2, and 3. That evening, after sunset, he stood before the basement door again. The air in the hallway felt colder here, heavier somehow. He inserted the first key and turned it. The lock clicked open easily. The second one resisted a little, then gave way with a screech. He hesitated before the last lock, feeling a strange pressure in his chest. But before he could turn it, a sudden loud knock came from the other side of the door. He froze. The knock came again. Then a whisper. "Please help me." Ethan stumbled back, his breath catching. It was a woman's voice, weak, trembling. His logical mind told him it was impossible. No one had been in this house for years. But the voice came again, more desperate now. "Please, it's so dark." He ran upstairs, grabbed a flashlight, and came back, shaking. He called out, "Who's there?" But there was no answer. Only silence and the slow creak of the house settling. After a few minutes, he backed away, relocked the 2 open bolts, and went to bed, though he barely slept a minute. The next morning, he tried to convince himself it was a dream. He made coffee, opened the curtains, and tried to focus on cleaning. But when he walked past the basement again, something new caught his eye. Muddy footprints leading away from the door. Bare footprints. Small, like a woman's or a child's. They trailed down the hall and disappeared near the back door. His heart started pounding again. He checked every room, every closet, nothing. The doors and windows were still locked. He looked again at the prints, and they were already drying, fading into the dusty floor. By afternoon, Ethan had convinced himself to call it in. The police came, checked the basement door, and laughed when he told them about the voice. "Old houses make strange noises," one officer said. "Probably air pressure or pipes knocking." They didn't open the basement, saying it was private property and there was no sign of forced entry. After they left, the house felt even emptier. That night, Ethan couldn't resist. The curiosity, the fear, the whispering memory of that voice, all of it pulled him back to the door. He told himself he'd just take a quick look, prove there was nothing there, and lock it up again. He unlocked all 3 bolts. The last one took effort. It felt almost like the door itself didn't want to open. He pushed, and the door swung inward with a long, shuddering creak. A wave of cold air washed over him, carrying the smell of damp earth and rust. He shined his flashlight down. The stairs were wooden and steep, disappearing into pitch blackness. "Hello," he called. His voice echoed faintly. Nothing answered. Step by step, he descended. The floorboards moaned beneath him, and the beam of light flickered across stone walls lined with old shelves and tools. Cobwebs hung like curtains. Then he saw something that made him stop. In the center of the basement stood a mirror, tall, framed in black iron, with strange symbols etched around its border. It was the only thing not covered in dust. Ethan approached slowly, feeling the temperature drop. His reflection looked wrong. The light around him seemed to twist in the glass. He took a step closer, and his reflection didn't move. He froze. Then the reflection smiled. He stumbled backward, tripping over a loose plank. The flashlight hit the ground and rolled, its beam spinning across the floor, and that's when he saw the shapes. Pale hands, dozens of them, reaching out from under the mirror, pressing against the floor, the walls, the air. Whispering voices filled the room, soft and frantic. "Let us in, we've been waiting." Ethan ran. He bolted up the stairs, slammed the door shut, and threw all 3 locks back into place. His heart hammered in his ears as he collapsed against the wall. For a long time, he just sat there, listening to the silence. Then came the faintest sound, slow, deliberate knocking from the other side. He didn't sleep that night. When morning came, he packed his bags, ready to leave. But as he reached the front door, he stopped. There were muddy footprints again, this time leading toward the basement. And at the end of the hall, the basement door stood wide open. He stared, frozen. The locks lay on the floor, twisted and broken. From the darkness below, a voice whispered, "You opened the way. You can't leave now." Ethan dropped his bag and ran outside into the rain. He didn't stop until he reached the nearest town, 10 miles away. He told anyone who would listen what had happened, but most thought he was just another city guy spooked by an old house. The police checked the property again and found nothing unusual. The basement was empty, no mirror, no footprints, no evidence of anything. The report concluded, no paranormal or criminal activity found. But Ethan knew what he'd seen. He moved into a small apartment and never went back. For months, he tried to forget. But every night, at exactly 2:37 a.m., there came a soft knock from somewhere in his apartment. He moved twice more, but the knocking always followed. 3 months later, he received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was an old brass key with an eye carved into it. A note was tied to it with black string. "You left the door open." The next morning, Ethan was found dead in his apartment. The police report said it was a heart attack, but the photos from the scene showed something strange. The apartment door had been nailed shut from the inside, and on the wall beside it, someone had written in charcoal, "Do not open the basement door." After his death, the house at Willow Creek was sold to another family. They said the place felt cozy, though the real estate agent mentioned they'd have to replace the locks on the basement. The new owner laughed and said, "Basement doors don't scare me." The last person to see them said they moved in on a Friday. By Monday morning, the house was empty again, and the door was open.